welcome to That British Homestead. Today, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, it's thundering, listen. Don't know if you can hear that, but it's legitly thundering. So, let's go harvesting in the thunder. Let's get started. So I thought that I would change it up a little bit and start off harvesting some of my squashes. This is patty pan. This is a patty pan. It is called Custard. It's actually my favourite patty pan because it's white. I have used this to make pizza, to make potato wedges but without the potato. I've used it to make, you name it, pancakes, you name it, because it has a really mild flavour and it's really neutral. You could make it in anything. I've actually seen it used in recipes to make strawberry jam because it doesn't have a massive flavour to it, which is fantastic. I love it. I'm loving getting all of these patty pans in. In fact, I'm even using them for flour so that I can use it as a flour substitute to thicken soups and stuff like that. Now this other patty pan, which honestly is a really fantastic patty pan, is called Sunburst. I really like it. When you grate it up, I leave the peel on and it does give like a yellow tint to it, and I think that makes things look very interesting and nice. I really like both of these. They're great for mashing as well if you want to use them like in a mashed recipe. That's great too. I'm very excited about having all of these squashes to do things that are a little bit more interesting in the kitchen. These were not very appropriate wear on my feet when I'm harvesting scratchy patty pan. So off to my cucumber patch, and you know what, this was one of the best cucumber harvested that I've had in a long while. So some of my cucumber plants have really come into their own. Once again, this lemon cuke, I know I keep saying it, it is a giver. If you ever have a chance to pick one up, I would. I actually got these from Just Seeds and it's called lemon cuke. I really love this plant. I did get a commenter saying that the first year they grew this, it was amazing. The second year it wasn't so. But it is something that I'm very excited to grow next year. Apparently, there's also a apple cucumber, and a orange cucumber, which I'm super excited about growing. I think in the UK it's called crystal cucumber, the orange one. But I am really excited about this one. They taste delicious. They don't taste bitter when they get old. If they do get old and go orange, they taste like a cucumber, and I really like that. If you don't water them every day, they don't go bitter, whereas I find the other, even the pickling cucumbers, do go bitter and they aren't as pleasant as when they are young. So I really like that one, and I really like that aspect of it, and I'm quite excited about it. You get ones about the size of tennis balls, which I think is quite decent for a cucumber. They do have seeds, but the seeds are very tender, and I actually prefer the taste of the seeds than like the meat around the outside of the lemon cuke. I really enjoy that. So but I do peel them, so there's something to think about. I have a few pickling cucumbers here as well. They've done a lot better. What I've found is that I've actually taken one of Bailey's dishes and filled it up with water. I've found that I have much less pest damage to the cucumbers if I do have a bowl of water around. You can see it behind me. So these are the Jackby small pumpkins. These are prolific. Once the heat gets quite high, like when it goes up to the mid 30s, early 40s, I do have blossom drop on this, and I do find that the blossoms are just not developing into pumpkins and are dropping off. I don't blame it. I couldn't sit out in the sun all day either, but I've got so many of these and I've been looking up recipes for them, and I'm actually quite excited about some of the recipes that I have in store for myself here. So deadheading again is so paramount to deadhead any flowers that you've got growing. Now off to the tomato harvest. Tomato harvesting is my favourite thing to do, I think. Mostly because I eat half of them as I go round. So it's really important that you are harvesting your tomatoes before you water them, because it locks in all those sugars that make them taste so sweet and delicious. So the black cherry, the golden nugget are probably one of my favourite varieties right now. I have to say that I'm liking the colourful baskets and making such beautiful sauces with them. I do grow some red tomatoes, but not very many. Yellows are one of my favourite things to grow, also whites, and I've got a few green varieties here and there, like green zebra. So like I said, harvesting tomatoes is probably my favourite thing to harvest, especially when it's like this now where it isn't particularly hot. Because I find it very difficult to be in the heat of the day, standing there. This is south facing, which is awesome for the tomatoes and the vegetables and all of the heat loving crops, but when you're standing there with the heat beating down on your back, it is very difficult. Some of these chilies I'm going to be harvesting, however, I'm not really going to be harvesting too many more green peppers, as I have so many green peppers already stored up. I even made a fermented sweet pepper sauce, so I'm going to be waiting for them to change into their colours. So for example, if they're yellow peppers, they'll go yellow, and if they're red peppers, etc., they'll go red. So I'm quite excited about that. However, I doubt that we're going to do very much preserving of colourful peppers, because I dare say Jasmine's going to eat them all in the car on the way home. So as you can see, we're doing really fantastically here. These are the actual currant varieties. I believe they're called Golden Nugget and Red Currant. They are very small, but kids absolutely adore this variety. It's about the size of my pinky nail. And you do get a big handful on each set of vines. They're quite prolific as well. As you can see, one plant will spread like wildfire, and it is a really nice thing to have, especially with kids. Jasmine absolutely loves them. This is Tumbling Tiger. I find this a very beautiful tomato, incredibly tasty. I will be growing this again. It is a plum tomato, and it is apparently very good for hanging baskets and pots. But obviously here I've popped it in the ground. It is a British bred bushing type, so it is very acclimatised to our weather, and you can just see that this thing has produced so many tomatoes, and I'm really happy for it. So I'm going to continue to harvest more tomatoes. These are my beloved chocolate cherry tomatoes, and I love them. Thank you so much for anyone who helped me identify them. I'm going to be saving seeds from them this year so that I do have them for next year, because these are my ultimate favourite tomatoes in the world, and I want to grow like 20 plants of them next year. They make phenomenal sauce, although most of them, as you can see, I eat whilst harvesting. I don't know how I get one or two of these home, let alone a handful. I really do enjoy them. They are probably my favourite tomato, and I do like the Golden Nugget as well. I do find that I'm snacking on those two varieties, particularly as I'm moving around. However, not all of our tomatoes have come in yet for this season, so I'm going to kind of hold a verdict until I try, for example, the garden peach, the great white. I think we've even got some late season rainbows growing, so I can't really express my absolute favourites and what we're definitely going to be growing next year until I have the opportunity to try all of them. Also, Brad's Atomic Grape is growing in the greenhouse and has yet to ripen. So these ones here are Roma varieties. I have them in both red and yellow. I do prefer the yellow ones. I think they're quite sweeter and they're much more pleasant. Once these tomatoes are finishing producing, you do cut them down because they will not set any more fruit now that they're completed. Whereas, for example, this one here is a indeterminate variety, so it will still produce flowers right up until it gets killed by the frost. In a little while, probably the next time I go down the allotment, I will be topping these tomatoes, meaning that I will be cutting off the growing tip of the tomatoes so that they are all focusing solely on ripening the tomatoes that they have now, because in a few short weeks, although it's very nice and warm now, we're going to be getting the wet weather and we're going to be getting the fogs. As soon as you get fogs in the UK, you get blight. As soon as you get blight, the tomatoes are gone. So it's really important that they focusing on just ripening the tomatoes that they have now, because tomato season is almost over and we want to have time to flip these beds to the late or overwinter vegetables so that we have a harvest within that hungry gap. And yes, we're going to be doing absolute tons of red cabbage. So here we have the cucumbers. As you can see, or hopefully notice, these cucumbers are really coming into their own and producing now. These were planted a little bit later than the ones that we have in the other side of the bed, and they're really doing fantastic. Same as these patty pans. I always find patty pans are always quite a little bit later than say courgettes and things, but they do they are very prolific and they do have a little bit longer season to them than the courgettes, which are actually finishing now anyway in my garden. So this is little Jasmine's part of the allotment. I think she's really doing great. She's got a ton of tomatoes, a little cherry tree and some peppers. I think a mole killed my apple tree. So these are the harvests that we got from that trip to the allotment. As you can see, I'm really quite proud of how much we were able to get, and I'll be looking forward to preserving it. Happy gardening.